Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the West Ham Voice. Thank you for joining me. Now, look, I'm sure most of you are really bored of this story by now, the Declan Rice transfer story to Arsenal. But as it stands, the deal's still not yet completed. Now, I've recorded this on Thursday night, and I guess by the time you watch this, maybe things have moved on. But as it stands right now, this video going out on Friday, the financial arrangements for the Declan Rice deal have yet to be sorted. So what's holding up the deal? Well, it's the pay structure. It's the way that Arsenal have offered the money. So let's sort of go into that a little bit further. We know what the deal is. It's £100 million plus £5 million in add-ons, where I believe the add-ons are for Arsenal to win either the Premier League or the Champions League over the next 5 years. Over the next 5 years. That's quite a long time, isn't it? And I wonder just how Declan Rice might feel if Arsenal think that they might not win the Champions League or the Premier League over the next 5 years. Look, I digress. I don't care, and it doesn't matter. So the add-ons, really, the £5 million add-ons, are neither here nor there in the grand scheme of things. But it's with regards to the £100 million, that's the issue. Now, according to the Daily Mail the other day, or the Mail Online, whoever it was that announced it, Arsenal was said to have offered £75 million up front with £25 million spread over 5 years. To be honest with you, if that was the case, this deal would have been sorted out already with a few tweaks here and there. However, from what I've been told, it's nothing of the sort. It's not £75 million up front at all. Apparently, what Arsenal initially offered was £20 million up front, with the remaining £80 million to be spread over 5 years. Over 4 years. So there's a significant difference between what's been reported and what seems to be the reality. So what payment structure does David Sullivan want? Well, Sullivan wants at least half the money to be paid up front initially. That's £50 million. And for the remainder of the money to be paid within 12 months. What he's willing to negotiate is that balance may be paid over 18 months. But that's about as far as he's prepared to go. So clearly, with Arsenal spending quite a lot of money this summer, they either cannot or do not want to commit to such a stringent payment structure. But if Arsenal are going to struggle to meet David Sullivan's demands, will this jeopardise the whole deal? Look, from what I believe, from what I understand, there's very little chance of this deal not being agreed. It's agreed in principle at the moment, and when something has been agreed in principle, it can actually mean that one or both parties can actually walk away from the deal. But having said that, the chances of this deal failing are kind of about 5%. So why does Sullivan want such a tight payment schedule? Well, look, like all football clubs, cash flow is important. It's important to the football clubs, the way they operate, etc. And especially over the summer where there's no ticket revenue, very little retail revenue coming in, etc. Cash flow is important to be brought in other ways. Now, in the past, West Ham has drawn down on their MSD Capital credit facility, borrowing millions each summer, which has a 10% interest rate. Look, back in 2021, West Ham United agreed a borrowing facility of up to £120 million from MSD, which will be paid back over 6 years. A large portion of that money has been used in the past to pay off more expensive debt that the club had at the time, as well as using some of that cash flow, which will inevitably went towards transfer fees and so on. Now, in January of this year, West Ham still owed MSD £55 million. Now, if MSD are able to if West Ham United are able to get £50 million cash up front for the Declan Rice deal, and another £50 million over the next 12 to 18 months, it means that they do not have to borrow any more money from MSD to cover the cash flow that's required to run the club. And this could potentially save West Ham United something like about £10 million in interest fees. So all of a sudden, the Declan Rice deal becomes closer to £115 million in net worth. So there is a method to why Sullivan would prefer the Declan Rice transfer money to come sooner rather than later. The extra 15 million saved on interest could go towards player transfers, for example. So will Sullivan get his way? He's determined. He's determined to do so. And we may see an agreement reached maybe by the end of Friday or certainly over the weekend, or at the very, very latest by the beginning of next week. Because one thing that Mikel Arteta wants is to integrate Declan Rice in their forthcoming tour of America in mid-July. As for Rice himself, he remains on holiday and is due to fly back to the UK this Saturday. He's been granted permission to discuss terms with Arsenal and to go ahead with a medical, which is likely to be done again, maybe this weekend or maybe by Monday, which seems to indicate that West Ham and Arsenal are a lot closer to agreeing the financial terms of the deal, much more than they were earlier this week. And one last thing about the whole Declan Rice issue. We heard earlier in the week that apparently Man City had made a £90 million bid for Rice. But the reality is Man City never did put a bid in. Now, let me try and explain this. It was £80 million in cash plus £10 million in add-on. That's what was reported. And what Man City actually did was they inquired as to how West Ham would respond to an £80 million plus £10 million bid. And they got the emphatic answer of no. Now, look, this doesn't corroborate TalkSport's pundit Eni Aluko's suggestion that what might have happened was Mikel Arteta reaching out to Pep Guardiola to put in a phantom bid. I think that's illegal. This is quite different. There was no bid, but merely an inquiry which went no further than that. It wasn't followed up with an official bid. But because it was reported that Man City had made that inquiry, that seemed to have forced Arsenal's hand to make that third bid of £105 million. Well done to West Ham United, I say. They seem to have played a blinder here. Whilst we no longer hold our breath on the Declan Rice deal, I can confirm that West Ham have made their first summer signing. Now, don't get too excited. Well, do get excited because he's a very, very decent young footballer. Whilst West Ham United today confirmed the signing of promising forward Sean Moore from the Northern Irish Football League Premiership side Cliftonville. Moore joins West Ham on a 3-year professional contract until 2026, and the 17-year-old would initially link up with the under-21 squad for the 23-24 season. The Republic of Ireland under-19 international joins Michael Forbes, Callum Marshall, Josh Briggs and Patrick Kelly, who have all joined West Ham from the Northern Irish Football League in recent times. Last year, Moore said, I started playing football when I was 6 years old. It's pretty amazing to sign a professional contract at West Ham. I'm absolutely delighted. It's a massive club and it was an easy decision for me to make. He went on to say, last year, West Ham won the FA Youth Cup and the first team also won the Europa Conference League, which was a brilliant achievement. It's a family-orientated club. I've heard nothing but good things about West Ham from Callum Marshall, Patrick Kelly, Josh Briggs, who I know well. And they told me it's good here and they've much enjoyed their time so far. It's clear that there's a pathway to the first team from the academy as well, which is important for young players such as myself. I would love to play for the first team one day. I'm hoping to make a good impression when I start with the under-21s. Academy manager Kenny Brown went on to say, Sean is a dynamic, pacey winger who we've been monitoring over the past couple of years and one we believe has got a really bright future at West Ham. So well done to him. But at the moment, that's the only signing that's confirmed. Now, there are an awful lot of stories going about that we've signed this player or we're close to sign that player, etc., etc. But as I've said in previous videos, it doesn't look like we'll be any closer to signing any players until our new technical director, Tim Steiden, starts. And from what it's been reported, and as I've said earlier in the week, Steiden will start his tenure at West Ham United as from Saturday, the 1st of July. What happens with regards to signings, power struggle and all that sort of stuff, I've kind of alluded to in previous videos, but I will talk about that again as the time over the next week or so. Now, we keep hearing that Denis Zakaria, who currently who was on loan at Chelsea last season, is close to signing for West Ham. It could be that Zakaria is a Steiden recommendation. It could be. But at this moment in time, I don't know. And I've asked, how close are we to have signed this player? And the response is, we're not. So I know there's a lot of rumour out there that we're very close. But I guess once Steiden's in, we'll know a lot better. If we sign Zakaria very soon after, I would say that he was definitely a Steiden recommendation. If we don't sign Zakaria, it means that he was never in the pipeline at all. That's the end of this very brief update. I'll bring you more updates as they come along for various stories for West Ham United. If you're new to the channel, you know what to do. Please hit the like, subscribe, and bell notification to let you know when I'm next on. But otherwise, thank you for watching, and I'll see you all very soon.